All right, now before we go over the remainder theorem, I just want to remind you, like if we're solving something like this quadratic, we would factor these are factors, and the solution, the one associated, the one that comes from x plus 10, remember, that would be x equals negative 10. And then the solution associated with this factor would be x equals negative 5. All right, so just keep that in mind. Now, the first one, it says state the remainder is the binomial of factors. Well, let's do the division on this one. So we're going to multiply v by v squared to get v cubed minus 10v squared. Don't forget to multiply both terms in the divisor. And then also remember it's minus negative 10, negative 11 plus 10 is negative 1v squared. Bring that 5v down. We'll multiply by negative 1v, negative 1v times v, negative 1v squared. Double negative makes that plus 10v. Subtract again. So 5 minus 10 is negative 5v. Bring that 50 down. Then we'll multiply by negative 5. No remainder. It says is the binomial factor. Now, if you divide something by one of its factors, it will go in evenly and there won't be a remainder. Like 10 divided by 5 is just 2. There's no remainder because 5 is a factor of 10. So this one's a factor. Now, what the remainder theorem is, if all I want is the remainder, you can plug in the solution that would be associated with v minus 10, if v minus 10 was a factor. That's why I reminded us of this. Oops, that's terrible. There we go. So v equals 10 would be the solution if v minus 10 was an answer, just like I reviewed. Now, what the remainder theorem says, if all you want is the remainder, you can just put that associated solution into what's called the dividend, what's under that long division bar, and it will give you the remainder. Watch. Oh, I got to switch to my calculator here. And what I have up on my screen there, if you're going to plug a negative in, just remember it has to go in parentheses. Because as you can see, negative 6 times negative 6 should be positive. But if you don't put parentheses around the negative number itself, you get the wrong answer, as you can see there. The bottom one, negative 6 in parentheses squared, gives you a positive 36 like you're supposed to. Anyway, that's just a separate reminder here. So let's watch what happens. Again, I'm going to plug that v equals 10 into v cubed minus 11v squared plus 5v plus 50. So I'm plugging 10 in for v. So 10 to the third, hit over, minus 11 times 10 squared plus 5 times 10, and then plus 50. Hey guys, I got 0. That's what we found as the remainder. So if all you need is the remainder, like if it just asks, hey, is this a factor? Or if it just asks the remainder, you can skip the long division. You can just plug in the number that would be associated with that factor that you're dividing by. So let me go back one more time, and then I won't go back again after this. So on 2, all I want to know is the remainder and if it's a factor, so I don't have to do all that division. So I'm going to plug in n equals positive 8. I'm going to substitute that in for my variables. That will give me the remainder. That's what the remainder theorem is. All right, so we got eight n cubed. So I'm plugging 8 in for n. So 8 times 8 to the 3rd power, hit over, minus 60 times 8 squared, minus 38 times 8, plus 58. The remainder would be 10. So that means that one is not a factor. As you can see, that's what I got on the calculator. And instead of switching back and forth, I'm just going to leave it on the calculator. Here you'll have the paper in front of you to watch this video. So let's just go on. Number 3. Remember, change the sign. X minus 3 is the divisor. The solution that you would get from x minus 3 is x equals positive 3. So I'm going to plug positive 3 in. 4 times 3 to the 3rd, hit over, minus 16 times 3 squared, plus 22 times 3, minus 30. 0. So if I did that division out, I would get 0 for a remainder. So that one is a factor. Number 4, and this is what I was talking about with the negatives. Watch how I type this in. I would plug in n equals negative 6. So 2 times parentheses negative 6, close them, to the 3rd, plus 15 times.
Excuse the interruption. As we get closer to lunch, I would like to again remind students when outside, socially distancing as much as possible. When you're done eating, masking, please. Throwing your garbage in the receptacle so it's not in the ground or in the bushes. When you're inside, again, socially distancing by sitting at every other seat, not shoulder to shoulder. After consuming food, please make sure you're putting your mask back on. When up and walking about, your mask must be on. Again, please do everything you can to ensure your safety and our safety, and we keep our doors open. Thank you, and have a great day.
So as we see here, the remainder 7, which means no, this isn't a factor. Again, if you got a remainder that isn't 0, can't be a factor. Number 5, again, we'll plug negative 6 in, just coincidence that it's 6 again. So we got negative 6 to the 3rd. Hit over to get out of that exponent, plus 12 times negative 6 squared, plus 34 times negative 6 minus 12. 0, that would be the remainder if I did that division out. So yes, it's a factor. Now just real quick, I'll have you try number 6 when you get to this part. Make sure you plug in, don't forget to change the sign, -8, and don't forget to use parentheses.